And then we've got Pat Smith at lock, Jeff Foster and Dave Edwards in the second row. So a former Tiger teaming with a former Magpie in the country second row. Dave Stafford and Bob Everson. Everson is a very interesting player. There are a lot of people tipping him to come to Sydney on quite a hefty contract. And the hooker is Jamie Jones. They've made some changes from Sunday's team, but that's not new with 79, Jack Gibson. If somebody's not giving him the effort that he requires, they sit on the bench or they play in reserve grade. Their team is Grant Jones at fullback for tonight, Jim Swift and Terry Fay on the wings, John Byrne and Gary Knight in the centre, Drito and McMillan forming the halves. McGregor comes into the top grade at lock. He'll tackle all night. Their second row is a very impressive one. Don Pryor and Nathan Gibbs. Watch Gibbs. He's a footballer that really is going well in 79. Peter Tunks will take the field in the first quarter, Jack Gibson just told me, in place of Fred Pagano, and he'll partner Peter Reid and Steve Magnus. Sydney running left to right in the first half of the match with South Sydney. Referee for tonight's game is Gary Cook, and he blows time on as South Sydney's fullback Grant Jones well downfield, and it's Greg Guider, the country fullback, that is tackled on the 22. Everson taking it up about 3 metres out from the 22 line. That's his prop forward partner Dave Stafford playing it now. Out to Griffith, the halfback. Stafford again. And it's Pat Smith there, lock forward and captain, electing to kick, and he's found touch too with a good kick from Smith in the opening minute of play, and he's going to put a scrum down about 30 metres away from the South Sydney line.
I think that'll be country's tactics in this opening 20 minutes, Frank, is to attempt to play the game down in South Sydney's territory. And in the game on Saturday against the City, Pat Smith figured in some tremendous line kicks, didn't he? He's got a very powerful boot.
He reads the game very well too, Keith. Did you notice then how the country backs were lined out?
Yes, well, they didn't get much possession on Saturday, and obviously they'll be hoping for a little bit more, because I think there is a little bit of flair in their back line, and it'll be interesting to see if Michael gets any opportunities tonight.
So it's Guider now. Comes from Tamworth City playing the ball. This is Barnett from Warialda. He's been here before and has played for country first before Jeff Foster came down in the country second side from Griffith in 1971 as a centre, and then had quite a good career with Western Suburbs prior to going back to Griffith. Walden endeavouring to make the break for the countryside, but they're going to find this South Sydney defence, I would think, quite frustrating, and obviously Phil Jackson has told them that if they're going to breach it, probably the kick over the top, such as you just saw from Pat Smith, could be the quickest way of doing it. That penalty is in fact interfering with Smith after kicking the ball through, and you would have seen clearly that he was knocked over as he was chasing the short kick through. Tonight's match, of course, brings us to the end of the first round of the round-robin series, and at half-time we'll be reviewing the four groups and the points table at this stage of the 79 Cup. Each of the four groups is made up of 4 teams, and each group supplies one semi-final qualifier, with those finals being played in August of this year. McMillan turning on the inside as South Sydney get their second touch of the ball, and the penalty goes to Souths inside the 5 against the countryside.
You had a good chance to have a look at them on Saturday, Frank. Who are you tipping?
Hard to say, mate.
It's a toss of the coin job, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Certainly, it's a far cry from the City side, of course. There's no Graham Eady or Steve Rogers out there this evening, and I wouldn't be surprised to see country upset South Sydney this evening.
Well, Terry Fay has gained some 20 metres for his side with 2 runs. McMillan, the South Sydney captain, tackled. Play on the scoreboard side. Out to Nathan Gibbs. Back to Don Pryor. Pryor is taken high by Foster and down lower by the country halfback. And so South Sydney 15 metres out on the last tackle. McMillan looking for the opening, turning and back on the inside to Squadrito, and he's tackled about 10 metres out. So another scrum is to go down, very close to the New South Wales country line.
Fine bit of attacking play by South there.
Smith to play it, standing out of his pack. Stafford. Newcastle North representative. Newcastle with quite a fair supply of the country squad this year. David Edwards playing with his left thigh and knee both heavily bandaged, a former Balmain player. John Penno, a member of the Illawarra side that went so well last year, and he has played for country, of course, before 1979. Smith again with the little kick over the top, and Nathan Gibbs having a little bit of trouble, eventually tackled by the kicker. Jim Swift, midway between the 22 and the halfway on the country end of the field.
I think I'd sooner see them use the long kick in these early stages, Frank.
Yes. He's tried that little kick twice now, and the result he achieved with his first long kick was far more acceptable than what he's turned up with the short one.
John Byrne, very dangerous player, and well tackled, but he's got his pass away, and South Sydney have gone within a couple of metres of scoring as Gary Knight plays the ball. Terry Fay will be hard to hold out. They've got him up. He might have got it down. Referee Cook is going to put the scrum down, indicating that Terry Fay was held up in goal. 5-metre scrum, the new rule in this year of rugby league.
South's looking fairly sharp this stage, Keith.
Slipped the ball very cleverly then, didn't he? It was a good tackle by the country fullback Guida as well.
So Souths win the scrum, and it's out to Squadrito, and that's Jones stepping neatly and going to within about a metre of the line. Souths playing it back to the blonde-headed centre, John Byrne, scooped away, out to McMillan, and McMillan must be very close. Gary Cook has a close look and gives the three-pointer. A Tri-Sydney captain, Bob McMillan, lead by 3-0 after 6 minutes of time gone. So there's the try coming up for you with McMillan, and it's all him really as he breaks the New South Wales country defence and scores under the uprights. Here's the head-on shot of Bobby McMillan scoring the first try of the match to take South Sydney to their 3-0 lead.
Country's defence would want to be better for the remainder of the game than it's been in the last 5 minutes, Keith. Otherwise there'll be a cricket score here.
Yes, well, they certainly had them under 6s and 7s from the time that Pat Smith put that little short kick over, and South Sydney had possession in an attacking situation. But I give Johnny Byrne a lot of the credit there, because he was the one that promoted the initial break, didn't he, with that clever pass. And certainly, as you said, they didn't recover very quickly, and it was no surprise when McMillan did go over under the posts.
So Grant Jones converting the try scored by Bob McMillan, and South Sydney lead after 7 minutes of time gone by 5 points to 0. Restart by Smith, the lock forward. Down to Terry Fay. Tackle by Stafford. Nathan Gibbs, quite a talented player, Nathan Gibbs, a medical student at the moment. McMillan, Squadrito, torpedoing towards that touchline. It's taking a turn, but Guida, the fullback for country, bringing it out. Taken by Knight and Byrne. Pinot. Play just on the 22 line. Foster. Centre 3/4 for country. Owen Wallace playing it with Smith, but pulled down by Tunks. Everson getting his kick in. interesting story surrounding Everson. He started out in rugby union in the same side at Blakehurst as St George's Robert Stone. As takes a giant run up on the flank and still going, but eventually pulled down by the fullback Guider. But a long 40-metre sustained burst by Fay, putting South on the attack, and Nathan Gibbs is felled eventually by Foster and by Stafford. But South looking as though they could cross again. Byrne, he's over. John Byrne scoring again for South under the uprights. And South's already lead by 8 points to 0 after 9 minutes of football. In fact, when this is converted, as Byrne, you see, forces his way over to score, with the conversion they'll be scoring rate than the timepiece can keep up. Byrne coming at you head-on the Amco replay through some rather brittle country defence.
Yes, well, when I tipped South Sydney a couple of minutes ago, I wasn't prepared for 10 points in the opening 10 minutes. I was critical of Pat Smith for using that little chip over the top, and then, of course, I thought the tactics were correct when Everson attempted to clear his lane with a long one. But I give South's fullback Green Jones a lot of credit for instigating that try. He positioned Terry Fay for that long searching run down the touchline. And Fay really scarped along down there, Frank, didn't he?
Yes,
good tackle by the fullback, but then, of course, the country defence was nowhere to be seen. And top marks to Souths because they voted with 2 great tries.
Thought of a move earlier, too. I thought Nathan Gibbs held on a little bit too long there. He may have let the ball go.
So again, we find Souths taking play back inside New South Wales country half through Peter Tunks, McMillan, Nathan Gibbs, picked up by Jones, the country hooker, and the penalty for South being inside the 5.
Bob McMillan makes a lot of difference to this South Sydney side. He's a great schemer.
Clears the ball quickly from the rucks too, doesn't he? Reads the game well and dictates the trend.
So the tap will be taken by New South Wales country about 5 metres into South Sydney's territory as Griffith makes the run around and then to Foster. Griffith again, Stafford. He's done some tackling in the early part, Stafford. He is one of the exceptions to what has been a very ordinary defensive pattern from New South Wales country in the opening minutes. Walden, the 5'8", getting his pass away very well to Ashley Barnett, then to Penno, but Penno put into touch by Rod McGregor's tackle. There'll be a double header of cup matches, a 5:30 kick-off between Auckland and Canterbury, and at 7:30 St George and current cup holders Eastern Suburbs. The Amco Shield fixture next Wednesday between Erina High and James Cook High will kick off at 3 o'clock. The 8:30 p.m. telecast for next Wednesday will be between St George and Eastern Suburbs, and that match will then be followed on television by the replay of the Auckland-Canterbury Bankstown fixture. The Amco Shield will then be held over until the Saturday morning. So it's a real feast of Amco Cup football here next Wednesday at Leichhardt with a 3 o'clock kick-off to the Shield, then 5:30 Auckland versus Canterbury and 7:30 St George versus Easts. And you'll see the 2 top-grade matches on television from 8:30 onwards next Wednesday night. In fact, 4 hours it is, 4 hours of big Amco Cup football. Byrne to dummy half. Tunks proving a handful for country. Tunks. He's made a couple of very big runs. South leading 10-0. 4 minutes from quarter time. Squadrito. Magnus. South Wales country coming up with the ball after an ordinary pass from Peter Reid. And making the break for them, the halfback Griffith. Tackled midway between the 22 and the halfway. Foster unloading to Guider, then on to Barnett, to Wallace. He drops it. And it went forward, and so referee Cook putting the scrum down. 9 metres on countryside of halfway. I dare say that all Channel 10 viewers, O10 network viewers, have now heard the very exciting news from where we see it, that the network has been granted the exclusive rights by the Australian Rugby League for the international series between Australia and Great Britain. We'll have, of course, the 3 test matches, plus New South Wales versus Great Britain, plus combined Brisbane versus Great Britain, and the Queensland match against the visiting side. 6 really top international matches coming up for you on the O10 network during the tour of Australia by Great Britain. Guida, he's made a couple of good runs for the countryside.
Yes, he has, but he lacked support on that occasion, didn't he? And
Yes.
the country boys had plenty of opportunity to back him up. Obviously, they felt that he was going to be tackled at any given time, but that's a fault in their play at the moment.
Yes, they gave up on him for sure.
Everson getting his pass away, picked up on the bounce by Edwards. He was tackled by McMillan. Played just outside the 22. Dummy half is Wallace. Through Griffith. It's gone on to Foster, who comes from Griffith. Smith. Taken by Peter Reid. He came across... In fact, I think he was, in fact, a South Sydney junior. He went to East and then came back to South Sydney. Dropped by Foster. And referee Cook is giving the penalty for offside. Correct ruling. And so a shot for goal to be taken by Grant Jones, who tonight is doing the goal kicking, not Terry Fay. I was watching Terry Fay closely on Sunday with his goal kicking. He knows really only one thing, and that's get in there and give it a real big kick and hope.
Yes, he's had a great deal of success, though, hasn't he, since thrown into the position? And I remember back to the game against Cronulla out at Endeavour Field when right from the kickoff he kicked that great goal from halfway. And he has kicked some good goals for South Sydney.
You'd be happy about that, those test matches, Keith?
Yes, it's great, isn't it? The Great Britain side, of course, always send a top touring team to Australia, and this year won't be any exception. But I suppose, Frank, that you're reasonably confident.
Confident of what, Keith?
Well, confident of Australia taking out the series after such a successful kangaroo tour.
Yes, well, I don't think it's going to be easy. I think that the English side will have the benefit of being the touring side, and they'll be eating, sleeping, and playing football almost daily, and they'll blend together into a nice combination, I think.
So Grant Jones kicks the penalty, and at quarter time, South Sydney lead New South Wales country by 12 points to 0. Jones to restart. 2 tries to Souths in the first quarter, one by McMillan, one by Byrne, and Jones has kicked the 3 goals. Fullback Guida giving it immediately to David Michael, a player that press reports today indicate has a chance of coming to play in Sydney with some good performances in the Amco Cup. Stafford now on the 22. It makes me remind those people who thought the country areas were being done a disservice with the restructured cup, that these players that appeared on Saturday in beaten sides with the advent of the new look Amco Cup have got at least 3 more opportunities to impress the selectors, whether they be New South Wales selectors or Australian. They can't afford to...
But he was standing much too flat, and the South Sydney players picked it, of course, and moved up very quickly, and I think he was hurried into that situation.
So country winning the scrum, and Penno running dangerously close to that touchline. Foster. Well, Phil Jackson is listening to me now. Phil, what did you exactly say to them at quarter time?
Well, I don't tell you what I really said to them, but the message was that they're not doing anything right. They're not taking the man with the ball. They're not running onto the ball. There's no venom in the tackles. In generally, they're very lethargic. They have to zip themselves up, and it's going to be a cricket score if they don't.
Well, Phil, I certainly hope it isn't going to be, but we did make the comment here that they seem to start better in defence on Saturday than they have tonight.
That's quite right too, yes. I'm hoping for better things this quarter, of course.
OK, Phil, I'll let you concentrate on your players. Thanks for talking to us.
Thanks, Ryan.
So it's South Sydney with the ball, 20 metres on the New South Wales countryside of halfway as Jones looks for the touchline, taken by fullback Guider. Wests, of course, recorded their victory over Balmain in a first-round match, and one of these teams, come the end of July, will qualify for a semi-final position. As I stated earlier, we will at half-time have a look at the 4 groups and see just how the situation stands as we complete the first round tonight. McMillan for Souths, playing it back to McGregor. On to Squadrito. This is John Byrne. Flick pass on the inside to ground, but it went backwards, and this player is Jim Swift. McMillan. Peter Reid. Squadrito. Torpedo punt high down to Guider. He's getting plenty of work, Guider.
He's coming out of it with distinction, though, because he's handled a couple of those high ones very well. Certainly not under any pressure on that occasion. He's only a little fella, Frank, isn't he?
Yes, he is. I think that if he gets a little bit of daylight in attack too, he'll be hard to hold. A little bit of pace.
Edwards turning it back to Foster, but then Edwards had
didn't have much option, did he? He gave the pass and gone straight back to him.
Quite involuntary, that.
It's fairly well done up, Dave Edwards, isn't he?
Certainly carrying some bandages. Jones is going to take the kick for goal, it seems. He has indicated to his captain, Bob McMillan, that he thinks he can reach it, but McMillan has overruled him and said to kick for touch. And it is a good kick, too, that finds touch about 12 metres out from the country try line. Another try here could easily break the hearts of the country visitors. McMillan across the field, and then to Nathan Gibbs. It's worked perfectly for them.
Oh, how easy.
Try scored by Nathan Gibbs. A set move with McMillan and Pryor from the tap, running across the field together, and then one player runs as a foil in the opposite direction, and then Nathan Gibbs running with him in the opposite direction is in to score. You'll probably see it better. Okay, here it is now. That's the final part of it, on the head-on shot. It was really a move where 2 players ran towards each other. 2 sets of 2 players running towards each other. And Nathan Gibbs going in to score, making it 15 points to 0 with 8 minutes of the second quarter remaining.
I suppose it'd be nice to think that all moves could be so perfectly executed with that result, Frank.
Yes, I just opened up, didn't I? So point to there, Keith, I thought that was a great bit of captaincy by McMillan. He declined to take the kick at goal. They had 12 points on the board, and I think he wanted to keep the pressure on, and here he is with the prospect of further 5 points. It's been a change here to South too.
Yes, they've lost their hooker, Steve Magnus, as the goal is kicked by Grant Jones. So
Points of Vato.
well, that was Walden, the 5'8", that gave that good pass down to Rick Griffith, and now it's with Smith on the last tackle. Looks for the support, finds Edwards. A pass across the face of and to the ground in front of Prest. He's still got the ball for them. New South Wales country appeared to hesitate as if to say, are we still able to play on, sir? Referee Gary Cook said yes, and it's down to Ashley Barnett. A good ball to Walden. Walden gets his pass away to Terry Quinn. On it goes to David Michael. He gets it down. It's a try. Yes.
It's a good try.
Yes, it was a good try. Starting off in rather sloppy circumstances, but finishing very well with David Michael.
Very clever pass here from Barnett, the centre. Wasn't it? Across to Walden?
Yep. He did well.
This is Walden here inside the 22, away from Terry Fay, a one-hander to Terry Quinn. He doesn't mess about. And it's on to David Michael. I had a few doubts as they went down here.
No doubts, were there?
Well, not so much off that shot, Keith. You couldn't
No,
really
sorry.
tell. Maybe this shot will indicate what I was talking about a bit more clearly as we see it on the Amco head-on. Starting off from nothing, really.
Good pass over the top by Barnett to Walden, wasn't it?
It was a top pass. Certainly
Walden
he's
did the right
created that
thing.
try, you would imagine. This fellow's played well in patches, Keith. Keith Barnes?
Yes, he has.
Walden,
He
the
was a
5'8".
little critical that he got across the field a little bit too much on occasions.
Well, there it is. Yes, he got it down, but only
Only just. He got underneath the South Sydney fullback, didn't he?
So Pat Smith's attempted
Oh, that's
conversion. It is just off. Just off, but it would have been interesting had he have kicked that. 17.
Try and a goal could really open the game up, can't
Yes,
it?
certainly can.
So there's the siren sounding and referee Cook calling time off for the three-quarter time recess. It's 7. Losing it backwards. Referee Cook says play on, and he does that. It's out with Foster, given immediately to Walden, onto Barnett, and he's tackled outside the 22 by South Sydney's Trevor Barnes. And the penalty goes to New South Wales country. And a chance here for the 2 points if they want to take it.
No, I don't think he'll take it in this situation, no. I think he'll be looking for the try. No, he is going to take it.
Well, I don't want to start this off again.
No, we won't.
Because I remember you and Frank Hyde took about 10 minutes to discuss it last time.
That's right.
I think Frank was of the opinion that he might as well grab the two while they were there. You were suggesting maybe the kick for line, Keith, but...
No, I think it was reversed, but...
oh, was it? Oh,
yeah.
gee, don't start this.
No, we won't. The situation, of course, is that if he is able to kick this goal, South Sydney kick off, and I think they'll get it down in country's territory, and then they have the job of getting it back up here.
So Pat Smith it is, the goal kicker. Quite right, Smith taking the goal kicks. Keith, I asked Phil Jackson, would Guida be taking them, and he said yes. But such isn't the case. The captain has put himself on, and he's kicked this one, a nice kick. And so it's 17 points to 10 now. With 18 and a half minutes of time remaining, New South Wales country have come back from 17-0 to 17-10 in 21 and a half minutes.
It's been a big comeback, Frank, hasn't it?
Yes, the way they started off this quarter too, Keith, it indicates that they're not going to give this in lightly. They think they've got a chance.
So the restart to be taken by Grant Jones for South Sydney, and this match has really come alive as far as the contest is concerned. The halfback, I beg your pardon, the fullback Guida played the ball then, and Terry Quinn, now based in Newcastle, plays it over to Griffith, floats one out to Barnett, taken by John Byrne effectively. Byrne playing, or played on Sunday in the centres and again tonight in the centres. I was pleased to see that with John Byrne. I personally think he's wasted out on the wing. He's quite a good centre, John Byrne. Guida now to play it. Tackled by Bampton, a good tackle by Darrell. A cross out to Walden, the 5'8", who's done some good work for the countryside on occasions.
He hasn't let up, but that's a big thing in his favour.
This is Prest, the replacement forward who came on at half-time for Bob Everson. And he made quite an auspicious entry into Amco Cup football with 2 cautions in 5 minutes, but he certainly did inject a bit of life into the country forwards. Penalty to South.
Terry Fay back in the fullback spot. And with Grant Jones up on the wing in place of Jim Swift.
So the tap for South to be taken by Grant Jones. Given to Barnes, back to Jones. Pagano's the dummy half. Out to McMillan. A one-handed pass back to Trevor Barnes, and he's put to the ground 9 metres out from the line. Playing it back to Fred Pagano. And he's tackled a couple of metres out. Regarded as a tackling machine as Pagano. Squadrito back to Fay, coming onto it at full speed ahead, and he scores from the fullback position.
Well, that's the reason they had him back there.
Obviously.
Oh, that might have been the straw that broke the camel's back. Squadrito waited for Fay, and then he gave him a perfect ball. He barged through Ashley Barnett, who's not a small man, and this huge man, Terry Fay. Watch him coming at you head on, and then put yourself in the position of Ashley Barnett or anybody else that has a frontal tackle to make on this man. Travelling at this speed, I mean. Barnett went high. The blocking tackle, I think, as Frank Stanton called it at the Daily Mirror Kentucky Fried Chicken coaching clinics. And then he's in to score. I don't know what sort of a tackle you'd have to apply to him, Frank, really.
I think you've got to get him in a conventional manner around the legs, at least try and stop his momentum, and hope somebody else can come and help you.
Either that or hit him over the head with a blacksmith anvil or something. So the try converted, and South Sydney lead by 22 points to 10. Jones, by the way, Grant Jones has kicked 5 out of 7 for South Sydney. Jack Gibson describes Terry Fay as the toughest man in rugby league. Number 16 for them is Anthony Wheeland, who comes from Wagga. Fay, by the way, in the South lineup is at fullback. Knight is on the wing. Barnes in the centre, and Jones on the wing. So their three-quarter line has undergone quite a dramatic change. Rod McGregor. 22 to 10. Bampton.
I think that's probably quite effectively snuffed out the country's attempted comeback, Frank.
Yes, I think so. There's only 12 minutes to go now. And
Jones,
they don't look as keen as they were early in the quarter, do they?
No.
Smith.
This bloke's kept trying all day.
The more you look at this match with hindsight, one gets I get the distinct impression that they've come out thinking to themselves, well, this side isn't going to be as hard as the one we met on Saturday, and they've gone out there with a touch of complacency for the first half of the match.
Well, it certainly looked like that, because they didn't apply themselves anywhere near the way they did on Saturday, and yet I know in the dressing room prior to the game, Phil Jackson was emphasising the importance of the clash and emphasising the importance of getting settled into their game and making sure that they did gain the initiative right from the kickoff. But of course, when they got out onto the field, it was an entirely different attitude that they adopted, and they paid the penalty.
Interesting to note that a lot of these New South Wales country players journeyed back to their hometowns on Sunday to play in club matches. So if you think they haven't played since Saturday, they did, most of them, on Sunday, with a couple of So it's Jamie Jones, and this is Michael Prest. Country getting their final replacement ready to come on. Tony Price, isn't it?
Yes.
Price, number 15 on the sidelines, warming up as Country fritter away possession, and it's South Sydney with it, and it's Peter Reid taking it up before running into David Edwards and Pat Smith.
And Price is from Port Macquarie, and he's one of I think the only country player that didn't appear in the games on the weekend.
Squadrito getting it out of his own half, looking for the touchline too, and Guida is back there.
I think he probably could have given it to Penno on that occasion. He positioned him well and attempted to sell the wing and the dummy. He's had a good game, Guida, though.
Oh, yes, he's got a lot of potential, hasn't he?
Griffith, Smith, Terry Quinn. Walden. He's strong 5'8", this fellow. Gives the impression he's taking a lot of pulling down. Smith now. This little halfback again, Griffith, floating a ball over to David Michael, the wing three-quarter. And
And he's forced to play it just outside the 22 from Terry Quinn over to David Edwards and then on to Michael Prest. And he's going to play it again outside the 22. Back to Jamie Jones. Then to Stafford. Stands up and gives it back to Prest, and he's met by Bampton. Loses the ball. Dived on by Topper. Played, and it's gone to Pagano. Swung back in the other direction to Bobby McMillan. With the impression, McMillan there, that he actually pulled his mouth guard out as he went. Clutched at something in the mouth and then went ahead, but highly unlikely. Squadrito to play it. Bampton. Taken by David Edwards. Jones. Guider getting across after it. Beating Knight. Taken by Fay. Terry Quinn. Four-man South Sydney tackle.
I'm just looking at the lineup here and I'm trying to work out who's playing fullback for Souths at this time. There's Terry Fay's out here on the left wing and Jones is over on the right.
Pressed again.
John Burns actually over in the white ring. James is...
I don't know whether Terry Fay's forgot that he's in the fullback spot. No, Jones is getting across there now.
Back to Prest again.
Well, if that is the case, it's smart coaching by Jack Gibson, of course, because obviously he put Fay into that position just specifically for that particular play.
The move, yeah.
And yet, I still don't know where Jones is going, do you?
And now it's with Edwards.
There'll probably be some ploy where they share half the field.
Yeah, but who's looking after the middle?
McMillan.
Rod McGregor to play it. A few metres out from his quarter line. We've got 8 minutes of time remaining. John Byrne might have been lucky he ducked under that one. And I think Mr. Press might have been lucky at the same time that he did, because it would have been, I'm almost certain, caution number 3. And that could have meant an early shower. Jones. Touch of cramp. Squadrito getting his kick high into the air, coming down to Guider. Takes it very well. What a safe game he's had, this fellow. And a hell of a work rate. He's been peppered with up and unders and driving torpedoes all night, but he's gone through with a clean slate. Smith. Penno. Well, that's strange. Penno's come from the left wing to add the extra man, or to run off the first forward up. And yet this man, David Michael, that we've heard so much about and who we've seen run once tonight, was about 60 metres closer to the action and didn't figure in it. And anyway, here's Griffith making the break. There's a chance here. Big Stafford, has he got the pace? Little Topper's coming at him. Got his pass away, and they've bummed a certain try. That was going to be a certain try. Terry Quinn unable to take the pass from Stafford.
Yeah, look, from here that Stafford was just going to see it out, didn't
Yes.
it? The defence converged him very quickly, but just running through the South Sydney side, it looks as if they've only got 12 men out there, eh?
Yes, they have. There's only 12 there, Keith, that's for sure. That's why Fay's...
We're looking at Fay on the wing and Jones, of course, on the other one. Of course, they underwent a radical change, didn't they, where they had a few players coming off and going on.
But there's definitely only 12 men there.
Well, it's a very vacant South Sydney bench, if that's what you mean. There's just nobody left. Guider, or is it Griffith? Griffith, I beg your pardon. Inside the 22 and put into touch. A good tackle by Bobby McMillan.
They're very much alike in stature, aren't they, those two, Guider and Griffith, and they run very similar as well. And they both had top games.
Pressed caution again.
McGregor, held by Walden. McMillan, Squadrito, back to Barnes, now with Reed. And the players on the South Sydney 22. Squadrito. Playing it back to Pagano. Jones getting his kick in. Penalty. A penalty has been awarded to Souths, with Jones being felled after he got his kick in. Touch judges coming in to make a report, and unless I'm sadly mistaken, the man that actually got Jones was again Michael Prest, who must certainly be running out of chances.
Yes, well, I think the linesman indicated to Cook that there was a little bit of a forearm there, but Cook was obviously on the spot, saw the situation, saw the incident, and felt that the penalty was sufficient.
Jim Swift, the South Sydney winger who had to leave the field, is being taken by ambulance to hospital with a suspected fracture of the rib area. It's out to Bampton, on to Squadrito, now to Byrne. South's playing with 12 men, having used up their 4 replacements. Leading by 22 points to 10, the Rabbitohs. McMillan out to Knight. And so this scrum is to go down a few metres on country side of her halfway. Two minutes from full time. And the South Sydney side get the penalty. Next Saturday, of course, in our telecast match at 6 o'clock through to 7:30 with 90 minutes of rugby league. The whole Saturday game, you'll see the match between Newtown and Canterbury from Henson Park. And that should be a match well worth watching, I would think, when you think about the number of players that Newtown poached, I suppose is the word, away from Canterbury. It could be quite an interesting game. And then on Sunday, some more top rugby league in and around Sydney, but highlighted, I feel, undoubtedly by the Balmain Parramatta clash at Cumberland Oval. They'll stack them in there, I would think.
Well, I think you'll be there and I'll be there.
Peter Reid now, tackle just inside the 22.
And we've agreed not to sit together.
I'm going to see Manly on Sunday, as a matter of fact. It's out now to South Sydney's Trevor Barnes, tackled 18 metres out.
Change camps.
Yeah, he hasn't changed hats, though.
The Squadrito. High ball. And the big men fly. It's down to South Sydney's John Byrne. He's been chased by Griffith. And he gets the ball down one-handed, and referee Gary Cook awards a three-pointer to John Byrne. He was entitled to 3 points for effort, if for nothing else. Here's the replay as this bomb comes down. They all go up. And as in Australian rules, the little rover gets the ball, you might say, and Byrne it is that darts away to that corner, chased by Griffith the half. They have a bit of a wrestle there before Byrne gets it down one-handed. And South Sydney lead by 25 points to 10, and this is how it looked from the head on.
I think it's probably indicative of country's performance when you have a look at the player that gets across the field to cover Byrne.
It was quite incredible if you watch that closely. The New South Wales country player actually got the ball and gave it to a South Sydney player. So John Byrne on camera, the try scorer, and that is the 5th try for South. 25 to 10, and this man Grant Jones is going for his 6th goal. given a good goal-kicking display, this fellow. Even those he's missed have been somewhere near the mark. It's got length, but it's just offline. And so 25-10 is the final score, and the man of the match is South's half and captain Bobby McMillan. Bob McMillan is the South's half and captain, and he's the man of the match, taking out the prize from Electronic Sales and Rentals and National Panasonic. And that, of course, is the video cassette recorder, which we'll be telling you about in just a few moments' time. Having played their one game are on 2 points. Then Western Suburbs and New South Wales Country, after 2 games, are each on 2 points. And Balmain, with 1 game down, have yet to score. But briefly, Balmain can't afford a loss in this match tonight.